Divya, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for joining me for a day in the life. We're going to find out a little bit more about you and what you're doing in your Supermum's journey. But first of all, just for those of you who haven't joined us before, a brief introduction to Supermums. My name's Abby. I'm a sales and partnerships manager for Supermum. So if you'd like to get involved or thinking about doing a course, it would be great to have a chat with you. First of all, a little bit about Supermum. So we've trained over 300 Supermums and a few super dads in Salesforce, and now working in different positions all across the world. Over 102 charities have benefited from working with Supermum. So if you come on our administrator program, for example, you'll get the opportunity to work on a live project with a nonprofit, and Divya will be sharing her experience of that with us soon. We've got loads of great volunteers who volunteer to be mentors. So again, if you're on our administrator program, you'll have a one-to-one mentor to help you out. We've got 4 different courses. So we do have our administrator program. We've also got a consultancy program, a marketing cloud course, and coaching that you can participate in to help you on your journey. We've also got some great companies that are working with us to sponsor what we do. So many thanks to St James's Place and Validity, who sponsor our administrator program, which we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth on today. So I have got Divya here with me today, and we're going to hand over to her now. So Divya, thanks for joining me. Do you want to tell us just briefly a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now?
Sure. So yes, I was brought up in Spain. I then moved to the Caribbean in St. Martin, and then I came to the UK for university. I was a teacher for 6 years, and then I got pregnant, went on maternity leave, and then decided I needed a career change. And so I started looking into Salesforce. My husband actually works for Salesforce, so he was the one who introduced me to Salesforce. And yeah, now I'm working with Advice UK as a Salesforce administrator.
Great, thank you for that brief introduction. So you moved from teaching into Salesforce. That's quite a big transition. And I know a lot of Supermums and people who join our course are making quite kind of big leaps, but sometimes it's not as big a leap as you think. So there are some great transferable skills that you bring with you, right? So kind of what made you think when you were teaching that Salesforce would be something you would enjoy and be successful at, and what made you decide to go for it?
Yeah, so when I got pregnant, I really started to think about, is teaching what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is there something else? And although I love teaching and I really enjoyed it, I felt like I needed something that was a bit more flexible. And so because my husband was working for Salesforce, he was always talking about the great culture that Salesforce has, the flexibility, and also the support that you can get with it. So I decided to look into it myself and go down that stream. So I looked into Trailhead at the beginning, and when I got onto the platform, I was like, whoa, there's so much that you can learn. So I felt like I needed something that was a bit more guided to really learn, because I had no tech background. It was all very overwhelming. So when he told me about the Supermums course, I looked into it and I thought this was like perfect for me, with all the different things that the course has with it.
Was there a particular aspect that really you thought, yes, that is what I need? Was it like the course content, the mentoring, the work experience? Which bit was kind of the most useful bit for you, do you think?
I think so it's sort of a little bit of everything, sort of. So the webinars was really nice because you get like structured, 2 hours where you're actually being taught. You then have the support of a mentor that then helps you through sort of the homework, helps you understand any sort of terminology that you don't. And I think the great part of it is that you then get work experience. So you then actually get to use everything that you've learned into, you go into a charity and you actually use those skills. And I think that was really important for me because I had no tech background. So when I first got into it, it all looked a bit scary. I was like, how am I gonna, understand all this? But yeah, I think because the course was so well structured and it sort of guides you through every part of it, it was very good. It was exactly what I needed.
Yeah, I think the structure and accountability kind of element are two things that people find really, really handy, because there are lots of different ways to learn Salesforce, but I think having the structure, as you say, the step-by-step process, somewhere to be each week, your mentor as well to keep you on track. And now we've got a new thing, which I don't think was part of the course when you did it, but the coaching side to also help make sure you kind of set your goals and are working towards actually achieving them and getting that certification at the end. I think they are kind of really important elements of the program, as you've touched on there. So how did you feel, especially going into something like the work experience? So you're putting your skills to the test for the first time. How did you feel around that time?
At the beginning, it was like, it was a bit like daunting. Like, am I going to be able to do this? I've never done this before. But as you sort of get to interact with the people within any sort of sector, within the charity sector, everyone's very open, welcoming. There's a lot of support that you can get with Salesforce. So if you are ever stuck, there's so many like user groups and communities that you can get in touch. And one of the things I think that I was most comfortable with, that I could sort of transfer over, was because I had been teaching for so many years. I think training people to use Salesforce was something that I knew I was going to enjoy.
Yeah. And that is a big part of the admin role, right? Helping users to use systems, explaining, quite a complex system in a simple way so that a user can use it. Yeah, that's a really, really transferable skill. And that's kind of what we talk about almost wherever you come from, whatever career history you've got, you'll bring some sort of transferable skill to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what about your day to day now? So you did the Supermum's course, you obviously passed your exam and are now in a role, which is really great. So let's talk a little bit about that process and what that process was and how you found it at the time. So you did your exam pretty shortly after the course, which we encourage everyone to get on with it as soon as they can. So well done for getting through that. And, how long was it between finishing the course and finding a role, and what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so it took me about 2.5 to 3 months to find a role. And yeah, hugely, because I think because when I finished my course was in sort of February, and then I took a month to really go back, learn everything, understand everything, and then do the exam. So I did my exam in March, and then we obviously went into lockdown. So there was not much I could do in terms of roles. I mean, I was continuously looking for roles, but obviously because a lot of companies were completely shut, a lot of people were working from home, and getting used to that now it's normal working from home. But back in March, it was like, okay, we have to move everything. So it took a while to really find a role. So I decided to just continue my journey, doing more trails, and I actually then ended up doing the app builder cert in April. So I said, I'm not gonna, let this put me down. I'm just gonna try and continue and, get on and just learn more about Salesforce, because there's always so much to learn.
Yeah, and we do see the admin course as kind of your starting point, really, and it's great to go on and demonstrate that you're willing to keep learning and you've really got that commitment to the product and to keep learning it. So it was a great use of your time in the interim. But you did find a role, so yeah, tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I got my role at Advice UK, and at the beginning, so when I entered the role, I didn't know I was going to be the sole Salesforce administrator. But when I entered, they said, you're in charge of Salesforce. And I was like, oh, that's great. So at the beginning, it was like overwhelming, like, wow, I have this whole system. I can do basically anything with it, because we're not such a big organization. We're a smaller organization. So the great thing about my role is that I wear lots of hats. I do lots of different things. And I think in this way you learn a lot as well as you go. So that was really, really interesting, great for me, perfect sort of first role. And yeah, so I manage Salesforce. I try and gather requirements from all the team, try and customize Salesforce so that it's easier for the users to use. We just moved into Lightning, Salesforce Lightning, about a year ago. And we also just bought this managed package that sits on top of our Salesforce called Fontiva. So everyone's still trying to get used to how sort of the Fontiva process works. So yeah, so that's basically my role.
And tell us a bit more about that process of getting your job, particularly things like going for interviews, especially in a new industry. That's something people can be a little bit nervous of, especially, I guess, teaching interviews probably been very different to going for a Salesforce role. What was your experience of that, and how did you feel about it at the time?
Yeah, so at the beginning, going into interviews was a bit tough. Like the first few interviews I had, they would ask me what previous companies, what previous sort of teams have you led? Have you been a part of any teams? And because I had never worked for a big organization, it was a bit difficult to explain to them and try and get them to understand that some of the things that are required in sort of a big organization I do as a teacher. So sort of I was in charge of a form, I was in charge of making sure the parents were up to date, in constant contact with the parents.
Communication skills a big one for
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so at the beginning it was hard to really showcase my skills, but one of the great things that did help was the work experience with the Supermum's course. So I was able to explain to them that I do have some sort of experience. I have done certain things before. I have worked in a charity, so that really helped me
That's great.
sort of get me a role.
Yeah, as part of our kind of revamped employability module, we give people on the course a few more tips about how to package that work experience and how to talk about it in an interview, so you can really share all that you have learned and how important that has all been to where you are now. So yeah, that is why we have the work experience as part of the course, so you can do just that, and it builds you build your own confidence, but builds confidence in an employer as well, that you can actually do these things in a real life scenario, and that obviously really worked for you, so that's great.
Yeah.
So thinking back, you've come a long way in quite a short time, really. It's been quite the career pivot, if you like. So has it done what you wanted to achieve? If you think back to where you were a year or so ago to where you are now, have you achieved, what were you looking to achieve, and have you achieved it?
Yeah, I mean, I love my role at the moment. I love what I do. Yeah, and I think I have achieved. I have come a long way away from where I was a year ago, having very little knowledge about technology, to now being in a Salesforce admin role and sort of being in charge of certain things. I've come a long way. And also, I think, one of the greatest things I wanted to achieve was the flexibility, because now, having had a child, I knew during maternity leave it was not going to be something that I could keep up, like going into school as well as taking care of a child. So yeah, it's been great. It's a great journey, and I've really enjoyed every part of it.
Great, and thank you for sharing your successes and how you felt through that time. It's really important for people who are thinking about it to hear stories like yours. So you've come a long way, but what's next for you? Kind of, we always say treat the admin course as kind of your starting blocks, and look at how you're going to build your career in the future. What ideas have you got about what you'd like to do next?
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do is possibly be like a Salesforce consultant. So I'm looking into studying a bit more and doing the advanced admin certification.
Yeah.
And just learning, getting my hands more into Salesforce, and also learning a little bit more about Service Cloud and communities, because we do have a community. And getting into this role, I realized I don't know too much about communities, so I've been learning a lot about communities as well.
Great. Yeah, I think your learning path, it's one of those things, it's great to have ideas about where you want to go, but also be open to, things like your role are going to bring up opportunities and things you need to learn. So sometimes it can be a little bit driven by that as well, but take any opportunity to learn a new product. It's always going to be useful for your armory and for your toolkit.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for sharing your story with us. Best of luck in your role and your future career. We look forward to hearing more about your success in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.